I was putting away groceries in my kitchen on a sunny Tuesday afternoon when I heard voices drifting through the open window. My son Tyler and his wife Amber were sitting on my back patio, talking loud enough for their words to carry inside. Amber's laugh cut through the air, sharp and cold. "Another 3,000, she said. "She'll never notice the missing money." I froze with a can of soup still in my hand. My heart started pounding so hard I thought it might burst right through my chest. I set the can down on the counter as quietly as I could. My hands were shaking. I moved closer to the window, staying back far enough that they wouldn't see me if they glanced toward the house. The curtain provided just enough cover. Amber was still talking. "I'm telling you, Tyler, your mom never looks at those statements. We've been doing this for over a year now. She hasn't said a word." My breath caught in my throat. "Over a year?" I gripped the edge of the counter to steady myself. Tyler's voice was quieter, uncomfortable. "I know, but maybe we should slow down. What if she does notice?" "She won't," Amber said with complete confidence. "Your mother is 72 years old. She probably doesn't even remember what she had for breakfast. Besides, we need this money more than she does. She's just sitting on all that cash your dad left her." I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. My own son. Tyler was in on this. My only child, the boy I'd raised, was stealing from me. I backed away from the window before they could see me. My mind was racing. I needed to think clearly, but my thoughts kept tumbling over each other. How much had they taken? When did this start? How could Tyler do this to me? I went to my home office down the hall. The room was small but organized, just the way my late husband Gerald had kept it before he passed 3 years ago. I pulled open the filing cabinet drawer where I kept my bank statements. I'd always been good about keeping paper copies, even though the bank kept pushing everyone to go paperless. Gerald had taught me that. "Keep records of everything," he'd always said. My hands were still trembling as I pulled out the last 6 months of statements. I spread them across the desk and started looking through them carefully. There. A cash withdrawal of $200 I didn't remember making. Another one for $500. A transfer of $750. Another withdrawal for $1,000. I grabbed more statements, going back further. The pattern became clear. Small amounts at first, starting about 20 months ago. $100 here, $200 there. Then they got bigger and more frequent. $500, $1,000, $1,500, $3,000. I pulled out my calculator and started adding. My stomach turned as the numbers climbed. By my rough count, at least $35,000 to $40,000 was missing from my checking account alone. $40,000. The money Gerald and I had saved over 40 years of marriage. The money from his pension, his life insurance. The security we'd built together so I wouldn't have to worry in my old age. And Tyler had been stealing it. I sat back in my chair, feeling tears start to well up in my eyes. It wasn't even about the money, not really. It was the betrayal. Tyler was our only child. We'd given him everything. Gerald worked overtime for years to pay for Tyler's college. We'd helped with the down payment on his and Amber's house just 5 years ago. We'd paid for their wedding. We'd helped them with car payments when Tyler was between jobs. And this was how he repaid us. I wiped my eyes and stood up. I grabbed the statements and walked back through the house. My sadness was turning into anger now. I was going to confront them right now, while they were still here. While the words were still fresh in my mind. I walked out the back door onto the patio. Tyler and Amber were sitting at the wrought iron table, drinking iced tea I'd made for them earlier. They looked up when the door opened. The moment they saw my face, saw the papers in my hand, I watched the color drain from both of them. "How long have you been stealing from me?" I asked. My voice came out steadier than I felt. Tyler's mouth opened and closed. "Mom, what are you talking about?" I walked over and slapped the bank statements down on the table. All these withdrawals and transfers I never made. I heard you, Amber. I heard you talking about taking another $3,000. About how I'd never notice." Amber's face had gone pale, but she recovered quickly. Too quickly. She straightened in her chair, and her expression changed from shock to something harder. "Cecilia," she said, using my first name instead of calling me Mom like she usually did. "You gave us permission for all of that." "I most certainly did not," I said. "Yes, you did," Tyler jumped in. He was looking at Amber, not at me. Mom, you've been forgetting things. We've talked about this. You told us we could help ourselves when we needed money. I stared at my son. That never happened, Tyler. I never said that. Amber stood up. This is exactly what we were worried about, she said. She was looking at Tyler now, talking about me like I wasn't even there. She's not remembering our conversations. The confusion is getting worse. I am not confused, I said, my voice rising. I never gave you permission to take money from my account. You did, Mom, Tyler said. He wouldn't meet my eyes. You just don't remember. You've been having these memory problems. Last month you forgot you invited us to dinner and you weren't even home when we showed up. 2 weeks ago you called me 3 times in one day asking the same question. None of that was true. None of it. But the way he said it, so calm and concerned, made doubt creep into my mind for just a second. Could I have forgotten? No. No, I knew I hadn't given them permission. This is gaslighting, I said. You're lying to me. Amber shook her head sadly. We're trying to help you, Cecilia. This is what happens when people start to decline. They become suspicious. They forget things and then accuse people of lying. I want you both to leave, I said. Right now. Tyler stood up. We'll go. But Mom, you need to see your doctor. This isn't normal. We're worried about you. We'll talk about this when you're thinking more clearly, Amber added. She picked up her purse and they walked past me, through the house, and out the front door. I stood there on the patio, alone, the bank statement scattered on the table in front of me. My whole body was shaking now. They'd turned it all around on me. Made me sound like I was the one with the problem. And for just a moment, just a brief, terrible moment, I'd wondered if they were right. But no, I knew my own mind. I knew I hadn't given them permission. I knew what I'd heard through that window. They were thieves. And they were trying to make me think I was losing my mind. I didn't sleep at all that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, going over every conversation I'd had with Tyler and Amber in the past 2 years, trying to find any moment where I might have said they could take money. There was nothing. I would have remembered something like that. By the time the sun came up, I'd made a decision. I was going to the bank first thing. I needed to secure my accounts. I needed to make sure they couldn't take any more. At 9 o'clock, I was standing in the lobby of First National Bank. I'd been banking here for 30 years, ever since Gerald and I moved to Pennsylvania. The manager, Douglas Harper, had known me for at least 15 of those years. Cecilia, he said warmly when his assistant showed me into his office. Good to see you. What can I do for you today? I sat down in the chair across from his desk. Douglas, I need to remove some people from having access to my accounts, and I think I need to open a new account. His smile faded. Is everything all right? I explained the situation, the overheard conversation, the missing money, the confrontation. Douglas listened, his expression growing more serious with every detail. I need to check something, he said. He turned to his computer and started typing. His fingers moved quickly across the keyboard, his eyes scanning the screen. Then he stopped. His jaw tightened. Cecilia, I need to show you something. He turned his monitor so I could see it. Your son Tyler is listed as a joint account holder on your checking account. This was added 11 months ago. The words didn't make sense at first. That's not possible. I never added him to my account. There's a signed document authorizing it. He clicked something on the screen. A scanned form appeared. I leaned forward, squinting at it. There was my signature at the bottom, or something that looked like my signature. But the date listed was 11 months ago, March of last year. I didn't sign this, I said. I wasn't even in town that week. I was visiting my sister in Ohio. I have the plane tickets to prove it. Douglas looked troubled. The signature looks very similar to yours. But it's not mine, Douglas. I never came to this bank and signed this document. Someone forged my signature. He sat back in his chair. That's a serious accusation. It's the truth. He was quiet for a moment, thinking. Even if that's the case, proving forgery is complicated. And right now, legally, Tyler is a joint account holder. That means he has equal rights to the account. I can't remove him without his consent or a court order. My heart sank. So he can keep taking money? I can help you open a new account today. Transfer most of your funds there. You'd be the only person with access, but Tyler will be notified of the transfer since he has access to the current account. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. Let's do it. We spent the next hour setting up the new account. Douglas walked me through everything, making sure only I had access. Then he suggested something that made my blood run cold. We should check your other accounts too. Your savings, any investment accounts, just to be safe. I hadn't even thought about my savings account. Can you check that now? He pulled it up on his screen. I watched his face. He went very still. What is it? I asked. Your savings account balance. When did you last check it? I don't know. A few months ago, maybe? It should have around $80,000. That was from Gerald's life insurance policy. Douglas turned the screen toward me again. The balance read $23,612. I felt dizzy. Where did it go? Large transfers were made over the past year, to an account in Amber's name. He clicked through more screens, and there are authorization documents here. A power of attorney giving Amber control over your finances. Show me, I whispered. He pulled up another scanned document. This one was dated 14 months ago. It was a notarized power of attorney form, and there, at the bottom, was another signature that looked like mine. I never signed this either, I said. My voice sounded far away. Douglas, I never gave Amber power of attorney. I never gave her access to my money. He examined the document on the screen. This was notarized by someone named Linda Ashford. The notary seal looks official. I don't know anyone named Linda Ashford. I was never in front of a notary signing these documents. The reality was crashing down on me. They hadn't just been taking money from my checking account. They'd been stealing from my savings too, and they'd forged legal documents to do it. Multiple documents. With official notary seals. How much? I asked. How much did they take from my savings? Douglas did the math. Approximately $57,000. $57,000. Plus the $40,000 from checking. Nearly $100,000 total. What do? I asked. I hated how small my voice sounded. You need a lawyer, Douglas said gently. This is fraud, forgery. You need to report it to the police and get legal representation. I nodded slowly. Can you print out all of these documents for me? The authorizations, the transfer records, everything? Of course. While he printed everything, I sat there trying to process it all. This was so much worse than I'd imagined. They hadn't just been taking money when they felt like it. They'd created legal documents. They'd planned this, systematically, for over a year. And my own son had been part of it the whole time. Douglas handed me a thick folder of papers. Cecilia, I'm so sorry this is happening to you. If there's anything else I can do to help, please let me know. I thanked him and left the bank. Sitting in my car in the parking lot, I pulled out my phone and searched for lawyers who handled financial fraud. The first one I called was named Amanda Peterson. Her website said she specialized in elder financial abuse. When I called, the receptionist put me through right away. I explained the situation, my voice getting stronger as I talked. By the time I finished, Amanda was already asking me to come to her office that afternoon. I spent the rest of the morning making copies of everything Douglas had given me. Then I drove to Amanda's office. She was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with kind eyes and a firm handshake. She listened to my whole story without interrupting, taking notes on a legal pad. This is definitely elder financial abuse, she said when I finished. And the forged documents make it fraud. We need to file a police report immediately. We'll also need to hire a forensic document examiner to prove those signatures aren't yours. How long will that take? I asked. Weeks, possibly months. These cases are complicated. In the meantime, Tyler and Amber still have legal access to your old accounts because of those forged documents. So they can keep stealing? We'll file for emergency relief, try to get their access frozen. But that's not guaranteed. She paused. Cecilia, I need to be honest with you. This is going to be expensive. Legal fees, expert witnesses, court costs, and it's going to be hard. Tyler is your son. This will likely destroy your relationship with him. He destroyed it when he stole from me, I said. She nodded. Then let's get started. We spent the next 2 hours filing a police report. A detective named Sarah Williams came to Amanda's office to take my statement. She was thorough, professional, and sympathetic. She took copies of all my documents and said she'd start investigating. But she also warned me that financial fraud cases moved slowly. It could be months before any arrests were made, maybe longer. By the time I got home that evening, I was exhausted. I'd barely walked in the door when my phone rang. Tyler. I almost didn't answer. But I needed to hear what he'd say. "Mom," he said when I picked up. He sounded angry. "What did you do today?" "What do you mean?" "The bank called me. Said you opened a new account and transferred money. Said you tried to have me removed from your accounts." "I secured my money," I said calmly. "Since you've been stealing it." "I haven't been stealing anything. We talked about this yesterday. You're confused. You're not remembering things correctly." "I remember perfectly well, Tyler." "No, you don't. And this proves it." "Mom, I think we need to have a family meeting. You, me, Amber, and maybe Aunt Patricia. We're all worried about you." Patricia was Gerald's sister. She'd always been a bit critical of me, always thought I wasn't quite good enough for her brother. "Why Patricia?" "Because she's family. Because she's known you for 40 years. Because maybe you'll listen to her about getting help." "I don't need help. I need you to stop stealing from me." "We're having this meeting," Tyler said, his voice hard now. "Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, at your house. Be there, Mom." He hung up before I could respond. I sat there holding the phone, a new fear creeping through me. Tyler wasn't backing down, he was escalating. And now he was bringing Patricia into it. This was far from over. In fact, I had the sinking feeling it was just beginning. The next evening, I opened my front door to find Tyler, Amber, and Patricia standing on my porch. Patricia was Gerald's younger sister, 68 years old, with steel gray hair and a permanent expression of disapproval. "Cecilia," she said, giving me a brief hug that felt more like an obligation than affection. "Tyler called me. He's very concerned about you." They came inside and settled in my living room. I sat in Gerald's old armchair. Tyler and Amber took the couch. Patricia sat in the other chair, her handbag perched primly on her lap. "So," Patricia began, "Tyler tells me you've been having some memory problems." "I haven't been having any memory problems," I said. "Tyler and Amber have been stealing money from my bank accounts. I confronted them about it." Tyler shook his head sadly. "Mom, we've been over this. You gave us permission. You just don't remember." "That is not true. Mom, last month you forgot you'd invited us to dinner. We showed up and you weren't even home. You'd gone to the grocery store and completely forgotten we were coming. That never happened." Amber jumped in. "2 weeks ago you called Tyler 3 times in one day asking the same question. About what time we were coming for Sunday dinner. You asked him at 9 in the morning, then again at noon, then again at 3. You didn't remember the first 2 calls." I stared at her. "I called once. One time. To confirm the time." "See?" Tyler looked at Patricia. "This is what we're dealing with. She doesn't remember these things happening." Patricia was looking at me with concern now, with pity. "Cecilia, have you been to see your doctor recently?" "I don't need a doctor. I need Tyler and Amber to admit what they've done." "Mom, we haven't done anything except try to help you. Last week you left the stove on. Amber came over and found all 4 burners going, nothing on them, and you were out in the garden. You could have burned the house down." "That is a lie," I said, my voice rising. "None of this happened. You're making it all up." Amber's eyes were filling with tears now. Perfect, calculated tears. "This is so hard," she said to Patricia. "We've been trying to help her, but she keeps accusing us of terrible things." Tyler reached over and took my hand. I pulled it away. "Mom, we love you, but this is serious. These accusations, the paranoia, the memory lapses. It's textbook cognitive decline." "I am not in cognitive decline. That's what people with dementia always say," Patricia said gently. "Gerald's mother was the same way. She insisted nothing was wrong right up until we had to put her in a home." My heart was pounding. They were building a narrative, creating a story where I was the one with problems, and Patricia was believing it. Tyler pulled out his phone. I've been keeping notes, he said, documenting all the incidents. Let me show you. He handed the phone to Patricia. She scrolled through whatever was on the screen, her frown deepening. Oh my, she murmured. Cecilia, this is quite a list. What list? What is he showing you? Patricia read from the phone. Left stove on unattended. Forgot dinner invitation. Repeated phone calls. Couldn't remember password to email account. Asked the same question multiple times. Put milk in the pantry instead of refrigerator. She looked up at me. These are concerning, dear. None of that happened, I said desperately. He's lying. He made all of that up. Mom, why would I lie about this? Tyler's voice was so reasonable, so caring. I'm your son. I love you. I'm trying to help. Then came the blow I hadn't seen coming. I've already spoken to your doctor, Tyler said. Dr. Foster. I called him last week to express my concerns. He's agreed to see you for a cognitive evaluation. I made you an appointment for next Tuesday. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. You did what? I scheduled an appointment for a cognitive evaluation to determine if there are any medical issues we need to address. I'm not going. Mom, you have to. This is serious. Patricia spoke up. Cecilia, I think Tyler is right. If there's nothing wrong, the evaluation will show that. But if there is a problem, you need to know so you can get help. The only problem is that my son has been stealing from me. Amber wiped at her tears. Maybe Tyler needs to take over managing your finances for a while, just until we get this sorted out, for your own protection. There it was. That was their goal. Get me declared incompetent so Tyler could legally control everything. I want you all to leave, I said. I stood up. Get out of my house. Tyler stood too. We're going. But Mom, we're not giving up on you. We're going to help you whether you want us to or not. That's what family does. They left. Patricia gave me one more pitying look on her way out. I'll call you tomorrow, dear. Try to get some rest. When they were gone, I locked the door and leaned against it. My hands were shaking. They'd turned Patricia against me. They'd created a documented record of fake incidents. They'd gotten to my doctor. They were building a case to have me declared mentally incompetent. I grabbed my phone and called Amanda Peterson. It was after 8 at night, but she'd given me her cell number. She answered on the third ring. Amanda, they're trying to have me declared incompetent, I said. The words came tumbling out. I told her about the meeting, Tyler's journal, the doctor appointment. She was quiet for a moment after I finished. Cecilia, this is serious. If Tyler succeeds in having you declared incompetent, he could petition to become your legal guardian. That would give him control over your finances, your medical decisions, even where you live. What do I do? First, don't go to that doctor appointment. Dr. Foster is already compromised. Tyler has been planting ideas in his head for who knows how long. Get an independent evaluation from a different doctor. I'll give you a referral. Someone who specializes in geriatric medicine and cognitive function. Okay. Second, we need to move faster on the financial fraud case. I'll contact Detective Williams tomorrow and push for action. The sooner we can prove Tyler and Amber committed fraud, the harder it will be for them to claim you're incompetent. What if they file for guardianship before we can prove anything? Then we'll fight it in court. We'll bring in the independent medical evaluation. We'll present evidence of their theft. But Cecilia, I'm not going to lie to you. Guardianship cases can be difficult. Judges tend to err on the side of caution when it comes to elderly people. They'd rather appoint a guardian unnecessarily than risk someone getting hurt. After we hung up, I sat alone in my living room. The house felt too big, too empty. Gerald had been gone for 3 years, but I'd never felt his absence as acutely as I did right then. He would have known what to do. He would have protected me. Now I had to protect myself. And I was running out of time. The next morning, I called the geriatric specialist Amanda had recommended. Dr. Jennifer Martinez could see me that afternoon. I drove to her office in the next town over, 45 minutes away. Dr. Martinez was probably in her 50s, with warm brown eyes and gentle hands. She spent 2 hours with me. Memory tests, cognitive function tests, questions about my daily life, my routines, my relationships. I answered everything honestly, trying not to let my anxiety show. At the end, she sat back and smiled. Cecilia, your cognitive function is excellent. Your memory is sharp. Your reasoning skills are intact. There is no indication whatsoever of cognitive decline or dementia. The relief that washed over me was so strong I almost cried. Can you put that in writing? Of course. I'll prepare a detailed report. You can pick it up tomorrow. I went back the next day and collected the report. 10 pages documenting every test, every assessment, all of it showing I was mentally competent and functioning normally. Armed with this, I went to my regular doctor's office. I'd called ahead and insisted on keeping the appointment Tyler had made, but I brought Amanda Peterson with me. Dr. Raymond Foster had been my physician for 12 years. He was in his 60s, competent if not particularly warm. When we walked into his office, he looked surprised to see Amanda. "Cecilia," he said, "I wasn't expecting you to bring someone. This is my lawyer, Amanda Peterson. She's here to observe." He shifted uncomfortably. "A lawyer isn't really necessary for a medical appointment. Given that my son has been discussing my supposed mental decline with you behind my back, I disagree," I said. Dr. Foster had the grace to look embarrassed. "Tyler did come to see me. He expressed some concerns." "What concerns, specifically?" He pulled up some notes on his computer. Memory lapses, confusion, forgetting conversations, repeating questions, some dangerous behavior like leaving the stove on. "Did you verify any of these claims?" Amanda asked. "Well, no. Tyler is her son. He seemed genuinely worried." "Did it occur to you that he might have ulterior motives?" I asked. Dr. Foster frowned. "What kind of ulterior motives?" I explained about the theft, the forged documents, the missing money. His frown deepened as I talked. When I finished, I handed him Dr. Martinez's evaluation report. He read through it slowly. When he looked up, his expression had changed. "Cecilia, I apologize. Tyler presented this as if it were a medical emergency. He seemed very concerned. I should have spoken with you directly before making any notes in your file." "What did you note in my file?" Amanda asked. He turned his screen so we could see. There were several entries noting Tyler's concerns about possible cognitive decline in his mother. "But I never actually evaluated you for any of this," he said. "These were just preliminary notes based on Tyler's reports." "Can you remove those notes?" I asked. "I can annotate them. Make it clear they were unsubstantiated reports from a family member, not actual clinical observations." It wasn't perfect, but it was something. We left Dr. Foster's office and went back to Amanda's. We'd barely sat down when her phone rang. She listened for a moment, her expression darkening. She hung up and looked at me. That was the court clerk. "Tyler has filed a petition for guardianship. There's a hearing scheduled 3 weeks from today." My stomach dropped. Can he actually do this? He can file the petition. Whether he'll succeed is another matter. She pulled out a legal pad and started making notes. "We have your independent evaluation showing you're competent. We have the financial fraud evidence. But Tyler has his journal and Dr. Foster's preliminary notes. Dr. Foster said he'd annotate those. Which helps, but the journal is still a problem. It looks detailed and concerning." Over the next 3 weeks, Amanda and I prepared for the hearing. We gathered evidence, bank statements, the forensic document examiner's report showing the signatures were likely forgeries, Dr. Martinez's evaluation, my plane ticket receipts proving I was out of town when the power of attorney was supposedly signed. But Tyler wasn't sitting still either. I started getting phone calls from friends and extended family members, people I'd known for years. They'd all talked to Tyler. They all wanted to know if I was okay, if I needed help. Some of them sounded genuinely concerned. Others sounded like they'd already decided I was losing my mind. Tyler also started coming to my house every day. He'd show up unannounced, walk through the rooms, look in my refrigerator, check the stove, make notes on his phone. He said the judge had granted a temporary order, allowing him to check on me daily until the hearing. It felt like a violation every single time. But Amanda said there was nothing we could do about the temporary order except win at the hearing. The day of the hearing finally arrived. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. The judge, Harold Morrison, was probably 70 himself, with thick white hair and sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Tyler's lawyer went first. His name was Marcus Webb, and he was smooth and professional. He presented Tyler's case methodically. The Journal of Incidents, Dr. Foster's preliminary notes, Tyler's obvious concern for his mother's well-being. Then Tyler testified. He sat in the witness box and lied. He lied so smoothly, so convincingly, that if I hadn't known the truth, I might have believed him myself. He talked about my confusion, my memory lapses, my dangerous behavior. He painted himself as a devoted son, trying desperately to help his declining mother. Amber testified next. More lies. More examples of my supposed confusion. She even cried a little, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Patricia testified too. She was more measured, but she confirmed that she'd witnessed my confusion during our family meeting. That I'd accused Tyler and Amber of theft when they'd clearly done nothing wrong. That I'd seemed paranoid and irrational. Then it was our turn. Amanda called Dr. Martinez first. She went through her evaluation in detail, explained the tests she'd performed, stated clearly and firmly that I showed no signs of cognitive decline. Tyler's lawyer objected, said Dr. Martinez had only seen me once, for a few hours. That Dr. Foster had been my physician for years, and his concerns should carry more weight. Judge Morrison looked thoughtful but didn't comment. Then Amanda called me to testify. I walked to the witness box, my legs shaking. Amanda asked me questions, and I answered them. Clearly, calmly. I explained about discovering the theft, about the forged documents, about Tyler and Amber's gaslighting attempts. I explained how they were trying to make me seem incompetent so they could maintain control of my money. Tyler's lawyer cross-examined me. He was gentle but persistent. Didn't I sometimes forget things? Wasn't it possible I'd given Tyler and Amber permission and simply didn't remember? Wasn't I being a bit paranoid about my own son? I held my ground. No, I was not confused. No, I did not give them permission. No, I was not paranoid. They had stolen from me, and I had proof. Then, Marcus Webb did something I hadn't expected. He pulled out a laptop and asked the judge if he could show a video. Judge Morrison agreed. The video started playing on a screen set up next to the witness box. It showed me in a grocery store. I was standing near the produce section, looking around with a confused expression. A store employee, a young man in an apron, walked up to me. "Ma'am, are you okay?" he asked. On the video, I looked at him blankly. "Where am I? How did I get here?" "You're at Morton's Market, ma'am." "I don't understand. I don't know how I got here." The video ended. I sat there staring at the blank screen. I had no memory of this. None at all. When did this happen? Where was this store? I'd never been to a place called Morton's Market. "Do you remember this incident, Cecilia?" Marcus Webb asked. "No," I whispered. "You don't remember being confused in a grocery store? Not knowing where you were or how you got there?" "I've never been to that store. I don't know where Morton's Market is." The metadata on this video shows it was taken 6 weeks ago, on a Thursday afternoon. Do you remember where you were that day? I tried to think back 6 weeks. Thursday. What had I been doing? Doctor appointments, grocery shopping, normal errands, nothing unusual, except there had been something, a medical procedure. I'd had a routine colonoscopy that week. Thursday, yes. And they'd given me sedation for it. "I had a medical procedure that day," I said. "I was sedated." "After the procedure, where did you go?" "Home. My neighbor drove me home because I wasn't supposed to drive after the sedation." "Are you sure you went straight home?" I wasn't sure. I didn't remember much about that afternoon. The sedation had made everything foggy. Marcus Webb looked at the judge. "Your Honor, this video shows exactly what Mr. Tyler Marshall has been concerned about. His mother experiencing confusion and memory loss, not knowing where she is or how she got there. This is precisely why he's seeking guardianship, to keep her safe." Amanda jumped up. "Your Honor, may I have a recess to review this video with my client?" The judge granted a 15-minute recess. In the hallway outside the courtroom, I told Amanda about the colonoscopy, the sedation. "Someone must have taken me to that store while I was still sedated. Amber, probably. She knew about the procedure. She drove me to it. That makes sense, Amanda said. But proving it is going to be difficult. We'd need medical records, testimony from your neighbor. And even then, it just looks like we're making excuses. We went back in, and Amanda did her best. She got me to testify about the medical procedure, the sedation. But Tyler's lawyer made it sound like I was grasping at straws. At the end of the day, Judge Morrison said he needed time to review all the evidence. He'd issue a ruling within 1 week. In the meantime, the temporary supervision order would remain in place. We left the courthouse, and I felt defeated. That video had been so damaging, and I couldn't explain it, couldn't remember it. That night, I sat alone in my house, wondering if I was going to lose everything. My money, my home, my independence. Everything Gerald and I had built. Tyler would put me in a nursing home. I knew he would. Sell my house, spend all my money, and lock me away somewhere. I'd never felt so helpless in my entire life. The days after the hearing were the worst of my life. Tyler came to my house every morning and every evening, documenting everything, checking the stove, looking in the refrigerator, making notes on his phone, treating me like a child who couldn't be trusted. The worst part was that some of my friends were starting to believe him. Carol from my book club called to say she was worried about me. My neighbor Janet mentioned that Tyler had stopped by to talk to her about my situation. People who'd known me for years were starting to look at me differently. With pity. With concern. Amanda had been investigating that grocery store video. She'd tracked down the store. It was 45 minutes from my house, in a town I'd never been to. The date matched the day of my colonoscopy. She'd gotten a statement from my neighbor Linda, who'd driven me to the procedure and taken me home after. But Marcus Webb argued that didn't prove anything. Maybe I'd wandered out later. Maybe I'd driven there myself, still foggy from the sedation. The fact that I couldn't remember any of it just proved Tyler's point about my memory issues. 5 days after the hearing, Amanda called me. Her voice was tight. Tyler filed an emergency motion. He's claiming you're at immediate risk. Says you left the gas stove on yesterday and almost caused a fire. That's not true. I didn't use the stove yesterday at all. I made a sandwich for lunch and had leftovers for dinner. He has Amber as a witness. She says she came by to check on you and found all 4 burners on with nothing cooking. She turned them off. She's lying. I know, but the judge granted the motion. There's a new temporary order. Tyler is authorized to have someone supervise you 24 hours a day until the final ruling. What does that mean? It means he can insist someone stay with you, or require you to stay with him. Essentially, you're not allowed to be alone. I felt sick. For how long? Until Judge Morrison issues his final ruling, which should be in the next day or two. That afternoon, Tyler and Amber showed up at my house with suitcases. "We're moving in for a few days, Mom," Tyler said, "just until the judge makes his decision. For your own safety." They took over my guest room. Tyler went through my house, removing matches, lighters, anything he deemed dangerous. He put child-proof locks on the cabinets where I kept cleaning supplies. He took the knobs off my stove. I spent that night lying in my own bed, in my own house, feeling like a prisoner. I could hear Tyler and Amber talking in the guest room. Their voices carried through the walls. I couldn't make out words, but I could hear Amber's laugh. That same cold laugh I'd heard through the kitchen window all those weeks ago. The hearing results came 2 days later. Amanda called to tell me. Judge Morrison wanted to see us in his chambers. That couldn't be good. We drove to the courthouse. In Judge Morrison's chambers, Tyler and Marcus Webb were already there. The judge sat behind his desk, the case file open in front of him. "I've reviewed all the evidence carefully," he began. "This is a difficult situation. On one hand, Dr. Martinez's evaluation shows Mrs. Marshall is currently competent. On the other hand, there's concerning evidence of memory lapses and confusion. The video from the grocery store is particularly troubling." My heart was sinking. "I'm also aware of the allegations of financial fraud," the judge continued. "Those allegations are serious and are being investigated by the police. However, they haven't been proven. At this time, There's no conclusive evidence that Mr. Marshall and his wife have stolen from Mrs. Marshall. Your Honor, Amanda started, but the judge held up his hand. I haven't made my decision yet. But I need to address something else first. He looked at Tyler. Mr. Marshall, I've received some additional information. Information that concerns me. Tyler straightened in his chair. What information? I received a call this morning from the FBI. They're investigating a financial fraud ring that targets elderly people. Your name came up in that investigation. The color drained from Tyler's face. Judge Morrison continued. Given this development, I'm postponing my ruling on the guardianship petition. I'm also modifying the temporary order. Mr. Marshall, you are no longer authorized to supervise your mother or enter her home without her permission. Mrs. Marshall, you're free to go home and resume your normal life pending the outcome of both the fraud investigation and the guardianship case. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The FBI was investigating Tyler? Your Honor, Marcus Webb said, we weren't notified of any federal investigation. You're being notified now, Judge Morrison said. This hearing is adjourned. We filed out of the judge's chambers. In the hallway, Tyler grabbed my arm. Did you call the FBI? I pulled away from him. Don't touch me. Answer me. Did you report me to the FBI? I reported you to the police for fraud and forgery. Whatever happens after that is your own doing. His face twisted with anger. Then Amber pulled him away. Come on, she said urgently. We need to call our lawyer. They hurried down the hallway. Amanda and I went back to her office. What just happened? I asked. I have no idea. I didn't know the FBI was involved. She pulled out her phone. Let me call Detective Williams and find out what's going on. But before she could dial, her phone rang. She looked at the caller ID and answered it. This is Amanda Peterson. She listened for a moment. Yes, she's here with me. More listening. We can do that. When? She wrote something on a notepad. We'll be there. She hung up and looked at me. Her eyes were wide. That was FBI Special Agent Karen Reynolds. She wants to meet with us tomorrow morning. She says they have evidence that Tyler and Amber are part of a much bigger fraud operation. I sat down heavily. How much bigger? She didn't say. But Cecilia, this could change everything. If the FBI has evidence of fraud, the guardianship case goes away. Tyler can't claim you're incompetent when he's being investigated for defrauding you. For the first time in weeks, I felt a tiny spark of hope. Maybe this nightmare was finally going to end. The next morning, Amanda and I met FBI Special Agent Karen Reynolds at a federal building downtown. Agent Reynolds was probably 45, with short, dark hair and intelligent eyes that seemed to see everything. She led us to a conference room where another agent was setting up a laptop. Mrs. Marshall, Agent Reynolds said as we sat down. First, let me say I'm sorry for what you've been through. Second, I need you to understand that what I'm about to tell you is part of an ongoing investigation. We need you to keep this information confidential for now. Of course, I said. We've been investigating a financial fraud ring for the past 8 months. The ring targets elderly people, specifically people whose family members have access to their finances. Your case came to our attention through Douglas Harper at First National Bank. Douglas called the FBI? He contacted federal banking authorities when he discovered suspicious patterns in multiple accounts, not just yours. Several other elderly clients had similar issues: forged power of attorney documents, unauthorized withdrawals, all notarized by the same person. She pulled up something on the laptop. Linda Ashford. She's a notary public who works at a law office. We've traced at least 15 fraudulent documents back to her over the past 3 years. She's been notarizing forged signatures on power of attorney forms, joint account authorizations, and other legal documents. 15? I couldn't believe it. At least. Possibly more. She's part of a fraud ring with 5 members. They work together to identify targets, forge documents, and steal money. The other agent turned the laptop so I could see the screen. There were photos of 5 people. I recognized Tyler and Amber immediately. Linda Ashford was a woman in her 40s with dyed red hair. The other 2 I didn't know. This is Marcus Webb, Agent Reynolds said, pointing to one of the men in the photos. Tyler's lawyer? Amanda asked sharply. Yes, he's not just their lawyer. He's part of the operation. He creates the fake legal documents, powers of attorney, guardianship petitions, medical proxy forms, all expertly crafted to look legitimate. And the fifth person? I asked. Trevor Nash. He's their tech specialist. He handles email interception, mail forwarding, password hacking. That's how they've been intercepting your bank notifications and other important correspondence. My head was spinning. This was so much bigger than I'd imagined. Agent Reynolds pulled up more documents on the laptop: bank records, email exchanges, transaction histories. We've identified at least 8 other victims across 3 states, all elderly. All had family members involved in the fraud. The total amount stolen is over $800,000. $800,000. And I'd thought $90,000 was bad. How does it work? Amanda asked. The family member identifies the target, usually a parent or grandparent with significant assets. They introduce them to the other members of the ring, though the victims often don't realize what's happening. Marcus Webb might show up as a helpful lawyer. Linda Ashford as a mobile notary who makes house calls. Trevor Nash might pose as tech support helping with computer problems. They all work together, I said slowly. Exactly. Once they have access, they forge documents, drain accounts, and cover their tracks. The family member usually gets a percentage. In your son's case, we estimate he and his wife have taken approximately $120,000 from you. $120,000. Even more than I'd calculated. But here's what makes this case special, Agent Reynolds continued. We have evidence that they were planning something bigger with you. We've been monitoring Trevor Nash's email. He sent a message to Tyler 2 weeks ago discussing real estate agents. She pulled up an email on the screen. I leaned forward to read it. Getting close. Mom's house should sell for at least $300K. I've got a guy who can expedite the estate sale for the furniture and other stuff. We can probably clear another $20K there. Soon as the guardianship goes through, we move fast. Have her in a home within a week, house on the market within 2. I felt cold all over. They were planning to sell my house, put me in a nursing home, take everything. This email is evidence of conspiracy to commit fraud and elder abuse, Agent Reynolds said. Combined with the forged documents, the bank records, and testimony from other victims, we have enough to make arrests. When? Amanda asked. Within 72 hours. We're coordinating with local police and prosecutors in 3 states. Everyone gets arrested simultaneously, so they can't warn each other. She looked at me. Mrs. Marshall, I need you to act normally for the next few days. Don't tell Tyler or anyone else about this meeting. Don't change your routine. Can you do that? Yes, I said. My voice was shaking but determined. Yes, I can do that. One more thing, Agent Reynolds said. Because of the federal charges, Tyler's guardianship petition will be dismissed. You don't need to worry about that anymore. The judge will be notified as soon as we make the arrests. Relief flooded through me so strong I thought I might cry. Thank you, I whispered. Agent Reynolds reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You did the right thing reporting this. You probably saved other people from becoming victims. That takes courage. After the meeting, Amanda drove me home. We didn't talk much. There was too much to process. When we pulled up to my house, she turned to me. Cecilia, this is going to be hard. Watching your son get arrested, knowing what he did. Are you going to be okay? I thought about that. Was I going to be okay? Tyler was my only child. My son. The baby I'd rocked to sleep. The little boy I'd taught to ride a bike. The young man who'd stood beside me at Gerald's funeral. But he'd also become a criminal. A thief. Someone who would have locked me away and stolen everything I had. I'll be okay, I said finally. Gerald and I didn't raise him to be like this. Tyler made his own choices. Now he has to live with the consequences. The next 3 days were the longest of my life. I went about my normal routine. Grocery shopping, book club, lunch with Carol. I pretended everything was fine. That I wasn't waiting for the phone call that would tell me the FBI had made their move. The call came on the 3rd day. Early in the morning, Amanda's voice was excited. They made the arrests an hour ago. Tyler, Amber, Marcus Webb, Linda Ashford, and Trevor Nash. All 5 of them. They're in federal custody right now. I sat down on my couch. It was over. Really over. There's more, Amanda said. The federal prosecutor is moving to freeze all their assets, bank accounts, property, everything. They're considering everything proceeds of crime. So I can get my money back? Most of it, yes. It'll take time, months probably. But the government has recovered accounts with most of the stolen funds still in them. You should eventually get back about 90% of what they took. 90%. It wasn't everything, but it was close. What happens now? I asked. They'll all be arraigned. The prosecutor will recommend they be held without bail as flight risks. Then there'll be negotiations about plea deals. With the evidence the FBI has, they'll probably all plead guilty eventually. How long will they go to prison? Federal wire fraud? Identity theft? Conspiracy? They're looking at minimum 8 to 10 years, possibly more. 8 to 10 years. Tyler would be almost 50 by the time he got out. I should have felt satisfaction, justice, but mostly I just felt tired and sad. My son was going to prison, but I was free. The news coverage started that afternoon. Local stations picked up the story first. Major elder fraud ring busted by FBI. They showed footage of the arrests. Tyler being led out of his office in handcuffs. Amber at their house, her hands cuffed behind her back, her face twisted in anger. My phone started ringing. Friends, family, people I hadn't heard from in years. Everyone wanted to know if I was okay. If I was one of the victims. I kept my answers brief. Yes, I was okay. Yes, I was one of the victims. No, I didn't want to talk about it. Patricia called, sobbing. Cecilia, I'm so sorry. I believed him. I thought you were confused. I should have listened to you. It's okay, I said, even though it wasn't. Not completely, but Patricia was family, and she'd been manipulated just like I had. They were very convincing. The arraignment happened 2 days later. All 5 of them stood before a federal judge and heard the charges against them. Wire fraud, identity theft, conspiracy to commit elder abuse, money laundering. The list went on and on. The prosecutor argued they were flight risks. The judge agreed. Bail was denied for all of them. Over the next few weeks, Amanda worked with the federal prosecutor to help me recover my money. They'd traced the funds through multiple accounts. Some had been spent, but most of it was still there, sitting in accounts in Tyler and Amber's names, waiting to be seized. The house they'd bought with my stolen down payment money. The cars, the furniture, all of it purchased with funds they'd taken from me and other victims. All of it would be sold to compensate the victims. 3 months after the arrests, Tyler's lawyer contacted Amanda. Tyler wanted to talk to me. He wanted to apologize. I thought about it for a long time. Did I want to see him? Hear what he had to say? Finally, I agreed. 1 visit. That was all. The federal detention center was cold and institutional. I sat in a visiting room at a table with a glass partition. Tyler was brought in wearing an orange jumpsuit. He looked thinner, older. There were dark circles under his eyes. He sat down and picked up the phone on his side of the partition. I picked up mine. Mom, he said. His voice cracked. I'm so sorry. I didn't say anything, just waited. I got in over my head, he continued. Amber and I were in debt. We were going to lose the house. Marcus Webb approached me with this idea, said it would just be temporary, just a small loan from your accounts that we'd pay back. But then it got bigger, and I couldn't stop. You could have stopped, I said quietly. You could have come to me and asked for help. Instead, you stole. You lied. You tried to have me declared incompetent. I know. There's no excuse. He was crying now. I destroyed everything. Our relationship, my marriage, my whole life. Yes, I said. You did. Can you ever forgive me? I looked at my son through the glass. The little boy who used to bring me dandelions from the yard. The teenager who'd helped Gerald build our back deck. The young man who'd given such a beautiful speech at our 40th anniversary party. That person was gone. Maybe he'd never really existed. Maybe I'd only seen what I wanted to see. I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe someday. But not now. Now you need to take responsibility for what you did. Accept your punishment. Use this time to figure out who you want to be. Will you visit me again? I don't think so. Not for a while. I set down the phone and walked out. I didn't look back. 2 months later, all 5 members of the fraud ring accepted plea deals. Tyler pleaded guilty to wire fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. He was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison. Amber got 7 years. Marcus Webb got 10. Linda Ashford, as the ringleader, received 12 years. Trevor Nash got 9. By the time the dust settled, I'd recovered approximately $110,000 of the $120,000 they'd stolen. The remaining $10,000 had been spent and couldn't be recovered. But given how bad it could have been, I considered myself lucky. I moved my accounts to a different bank, got a new financial advisor, set up monitoring systems so I'd be alerted to any unusual activity. I made my accounts as secure as possible. But I also decided to do something more. I started speaking at senior centers about financial fraud, about the warning signs, about the importance of monitoring accounts and protecting personal information. I partnered with the FBI's Victim Services Division to help other elderly people who'd been defrauded. I turned my pain into purpose. 6 months after the arrests, I was in my garden planting flowers. It was spring, warm and bright, everything in bloom. I thought about Gerald, about how he'd always loved this time of year, how he'd say spring was about new beginnings. I'd protected what we built together, our home, our legacy. It had cost me my relationship with my son, at least for now. But I'd survived. I'd fought back, and I'd won. My neighbor Janet called over the fence. "Those roses are going to be beautiful, Cecilia." I smiled and waved. "I hope so." Gerald always said this was the best spot for roses. Life went on. I still had my home, my independence, my dignity. I had friends. I had purpose, and I had peace. I'd learned some hard lessons. That trust needs to be earned, not blindly given. That even family members can betray you. That vigilance isn't paranoia, it's wisdom. But I'd also learned something else. That I was stronger than I'd thought. That even at 72 years old, I could stand up for myself and fight back. That it's never too late to protect yourself and seek justice. Gerald would have been proud of me. I was proud of myself. The sun was warm on my face as I patted soil around the last rose bush. Tomorrow I'd water them. Next month they'd bloom. And life would continue, richer and more beautiful than before. Because I'd survived, I'd overcome, and I'd triumphed. And that's a lesson worth remembering, no matter how old you are. Have you ever had to stand up to someone you trusted? Someone who took advantage of your kindness? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel for more true stories like this one, and share this video with anyone who might need to hear it. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, you're stronger than you think, and it's never too late to fight for what's right. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next story.